Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show. It's live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Tam McManus and Hugh McDonald are here with me to look over the wreckage that is Denmark 2, Scotland 0. It was hard to watch. At one point, I was contemplating Hugh McDonald going behind the couch. It was a nightmare.
It was, but for me, Peter, it wasn't a surprise, you know, because I watched the pre-match and I still say very surprised that people saying Denmark are not world beaters was one comment, and I thought, well, no, they're not Brazil 1970, not even Brazil 1982, but they're a team that just pumped Austria up 4-0. We struggled with them. They're a team that were a penalty shootout, perhaps are going to the semi-finals of the Euros, because I think if they beat England, they beat Ukraine.
Yeah.
So they're a decent mob. And we're just not at that level. I thought any comment about the game after 15 minutes is basically irrelevant, because Denmark had won it by then, and anything after it, we came back in, and we're 2-0 down, and Denmark's just wanting to just contain the game.
Yeah.
I thought it showed us where we are, and I've already said I don't expect us to qualify for this World Cup anyway, and I think that was further evidence of it.
Well, I can't disagree with you because I think it's gone. I mean, we're now looking at we need 6 points from Moldova and Austria to give us even a modicum of hope of finishing second, Tam. But when I looked at it last night, I thought the defending was abysmal. You know, and we couldn't, at one point I looked and I thought, well, we haven't actually got into their penalty box. This was the first half.
First half, I don't think Scotland had an attempt at goal in the first half. I can't remember off the top of my head Scotland being in their final third. It was a really poor performance, and as Hugh said, after 15 minutes the game's irrelevant, it's done. You know, first of all, Tierney I think switches off for the ball in behind him. It's a great ball, but it's a good header, but I think Tierney's at fault for that. He's got to match the runner. And I think Craig Gordon's starting position could have been further out his goal. I'm always looking at goalkeepers' starting positions when that type of ball, that in-swinger comes in.
Yeah. But even the second goal, Tam, there's about 6 or 7 Scotland players who are back.
None of them go with the runner, because I think he runs off the back of Gilmour and sticks it away. So, as you said, listen, after that, it was, first of all, it was damage limitation in the first half.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, this could be 3 or 4 at half time, and this could be a down. But
yeah.
Second half, they came back into it, but Denmark had the game won. They cruised the game. So it's got to be a lot better the next 2 games. I don't think anybody expected us to really go over there and do anything, but I expected to at least put up a fight in the first half.
Yeah, there are some players, you know, we've been arguing, you can tell how passionate this whole thing is, and you can give us your view, excuse me, on what you think yourself, but we're arguing over, have we progressed, you know, as you move on and you see the players that are available to you. But he's got a better squad of players, Hugh, because a lot of them are playing top flight in the English Premier League. But, you know, he prides himself in them being organised, but Robertson was wrong on the right-hand side. Che Adams up front when we couldn't get an out ball in the first half was wrong. He can talk about, he's not talking about team selection, he's talking about positioning is where he got it wrong. I'm sorry, you know, if there's no out ball, you got to try and find somebody. Dykes would have got us further up the park, but there was nothing.
But it's been a really disappointing trend. I think Clarke's a top class coach, right? He just is. You can tell with the guys that he's worked with and guys that come and hire him. So he's a top class coach, but he's gone in a really bad habit of getting the first half really badly wrong for Scotland in a succession of matches. Most damagingly, I think, against Israel, and you know, when we were really poor in the first half, and we ended up dropping, I think, the most vital points of the group there. And you know, you look at the Euros as well. England smashing, but the 2 other games in first half again poor against the Czech Republic. Not playing Adams for the start. You know, Stephen O'Donnell. You know, when other options were available. So I think he's got things wrong. He changes at half time, good on him. But then international football is regularly too late. It was completely too late I mean, you could have brought on Ronaldo last night and you'd have been struggling to get a point.
Yeah, I think they might have.
Yeah, well, we've got two corners.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not write him off. Hugh Scott says, Peter, I think it showed again last night that McKenna isn't the answer in defence. Well, listen, Hugh, I am not going to argue with you on that, because no harm to the boy, but I'm sorry, that back line, that centre of defence has not been sorted out, Tam.
Nah, it was poor last night, and as I said, Denmark could have scored 3 or 4 in the first half. I don't think we've found a real defensive partnership, a real Miller-McLeish, not that tight, but I'm talking about just two guys that you automatically go, right, they're going to play every game. We've mixed and matched it all the time. You know, it's 1 from 2, or this guy's brought in, he's out. Mm-hmm. We've not a settled back four, and as you said, switching Robertson to right wing back was...
Oh, terrible.
It was a bad decision. It just...
But Tierney doesn't want to play there either. To be fair to the lad, Tierney
Robertson's took one for the team as the captain.
Tierney's been taking one for the team, playing there for a couple of games, and he basically just said to Steve Clarke, listen, please, no right back.
You no credit for it, because the fans will hammer you. They don't see that. You know, he's doing it for the country, he's doing it for the team. We've not got a recognised right back last night, but I think he could maybe have played Fraser there. I know he played Fraser just off the striker, but he could have played Fraser wide right, and the right wing back, and Robertson, and put Tierney into left centre back, where I think he's more comfortable. But I just think Denmark are a better side, outclassed us, and I think we move on to the next game.
Yeah, Denmark, population 5.8 million, same as us. Different attitude to it. They're producing players, they're producing top drawer players. Here's what Steve Clarke made of the overall result and the way his team played.
I could have made other options, but I felt that was the best way to start the game. Experienced players in the pitch. I don't think it was so much the personnel, I think it was the shape of the team. We allowed Denmark to pin us back. We made the pitch too long, the midfield couldn't get close to the opposition midfield. We couldn't get a hand on the game. And I think it came more from team shape rather than personnel.
I'm not too sure I agree with Steve Clarke on that, team shape rather than personnel. If anything now, you know, as Tam mentioned, at times you're watching football at the highest level now, never mind, you know, domestically, then you go to your Champions League, and some would say Champions League's above international football, but it's a high press.
Aye, it's a high press. I mean, I would say Champions League normally is above international, because I would just use the line that every Champions League player at a certain stage plays international football. Not every international footballer plays Champions League.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, but it is an elite level when you're playing against teams like Denmark. You mean you're playing against... You look at that Denmark team last night and look at where they came from. Good Serie A sides, English Premier League sides, good Bundesliga sides. You know, the team's full of... even with the 7 call-offs, I mean, even with a Barcelona player calling off, they had, you know, they've got a real strong quality team. And that's when wee chinks and guys' ability on the other side, you know, become apparent. It becomes apparent, for example, that Scott McKenna's a championship player. You know, he's not an English Premier League centre-half.
Yeah.
It becomes apparent, I think, last night that Kenny McLean, for example, is not back to what he was before the injury. You know, that sticks out to me when you see good players around about him, because there was a period in that match last night where Denmark really properly controlled it. Really, you just didn't feel Scotland were even going to get the ball, never mind anything else.
Well, Stuart Ramsey and Kenny Whitson have mentioned to us on the live feed, you know, for the same population, why are we so far behind them? And I wonder about it at times. It's a difficult one for you, Tam. You're an SFA coach. We are absolutely grafting. Now, I would say in a positive sense, from where we were under the dark days of Bertie to the amount of Scottish players who are getting regular football now. And I always look at that golden rule from listening to managers and coaches. If a player can get 100 to 150 games, you know, whether it's in Scotland or then get the quality to move down south, great. We've got more players playing down there. So we are heading in the right direction. We just need even more of them. We need to work even more on it. And I wonder how we're going to do that, because if you look at and you can give me an answer on this, Hugh, but I'll get Tam's thought on it first. If you look at the money that's ploughed in from the national lottery to get gold medals for Britain at the Olympics, if you look at the money that the athletes turn around and say, that's why we're there. We've got the facilities, we've got the coaches, we've got the ability to work constantly at it. You know, we need to keep building on what we're already doing, because I think we're in a far better place than we were under Bertie as far as grassroots and coaches going out and passing on their knowledge.
Yeah, I've said this to you before. I think we are producing players now, but from under 15 under 18 level, I believe Scotland as a national team are as good as anybody in Europe. I've watched the games. Scotland going at under 16, 17s, passing Spain off the park, passing Germany off the park. I've watched it, I've seen the clips. But I think when we get to, as a nation, when we get to 18, from 18 to 21 is the big, I want to say it's a disappointment where as you've got players who have got other things in their mind, they've got gone out, they've got a lack of dedication. I think Denmark, first and foremost, are a healthier nation than us in terms of the general health. I think they're a fitter nation than us. I think their players are more dedicated than us. So all that, when you put all that into the pot, you know, when we've got players at 20, 21 who are maybe played 20 games and playing at big clubs down south, not playing football, and the Danish boys are out playing maybe in the Danish league or the Norwegian league or Scandinavian league and they're playing 100, 150 games, they're dedicated, they're fit, then they get their big move. You know, for us, I think that 18 to 21 is still a major issue, that age gap between us developing players to a certain level to going and producing a real top player. And I've always said that if I was in charge of the SFA, which I'm not, I would get Andy Murray into every school, into every club. I'd hire him as an SFA guru and then go in and tell the boys, this is what you've got to do to be an elite athlete. It's not good enough to do it once a week or twice a week. You've got to do it every day. You've got to live your life 24/7 as an athlete. And then we will start to produce better players, because I think we've got talent, but it's the dedication and the fitness and athleticism which we're miles off the top nations.
Yeah, and it's even more remarkable, Tam, when you consider that, you know, if you go to a nightclub in Denmark, there's 500 blondes and one brunette. I mean, I'd never be out of a nightclub in Denmark. You and I would just be sitting in the corner.
You could have the brunettes.
I know, I wouldn't care. I mean, at the end of the day,
there's 500 blondes and the one brunette's Big Ruffy.
Exactly. I'm listening to him and I'm thinking they're more dedicated, and I'm thinking, what a nation, they're healthier. I agree with you, you know, and they look fantastic. But the point of the skill factor, I mean, last night some of the players, they were just, the other thing I thought at times, you know, they had the ball 20 yards out. I watched Delaney at one point, he had the ball 20 yards out for a shot. There was nobody could near him.
I'll tell you another thing, Delaney would have been shot for having the shot. I mean, because nowadays in international football, you know this time, they don't want you to shoot from outside the box. They'll say you never take a shot from there. You know, only when you're, but it was so open for him. He had nothing else to do but shoot it.
Yeah.
You know, because they'll go in stats for outside the box. You watch nowadays, everybody says they always take an extra pass. It's because the coach on the sideline is saying, well, the expected goals from a shot outside the box are 0-0-0. They do all that. Yeah. So that just shows you how bad it was that Delaney, by the way, who scored as many goals in international football as I have probably, no, he scores for the odd corner of a header. Yeah. But I mean, he's a defensive midfielder and he's taking that kind of shot.
Yeah, Sean Maxwell's just put up a question here, which again, it's what has Andy Murray got to do with football? I think the point we're making here, Tam, is to for any footballer at a young age to listen to an elite athlete talk about their application.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, application. The guy's 34 years old. He's got a metal hip. And you see him the other night.
He was fantastic.
He's grafted, he tried his heart out to the very end.
Against
and he doesn't chuck it. The guy's a multi-millionaire. He doesn't need to do it, but he does it because he wants to, and he's got that grit inside him and that heart to keep going, and that's what the Scottish players for me lack.
I'll tell you how good he is, Tam. I thought, okay, am I going to give Amazon Prime £5 here for this? Or am I going to try? I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Don't have Amazon on the minute.
No, I thought to myself, am I going to commit another £5 to Amazon Prime to watch this? And I thought, it's Andy Murray. If Andy Murray was up the park right now, I'd be scooting up there to watch him. But, you know, listen, from a Scottish
point is absolutely brilliant. I'm just sitting there thinking about it. I said, that is exactly what you should be doing. You should be getting, if you talk to any really serious sports person, I mean serious, elite, world best, or pertaining, whether it be a curler or whether it be, you know, a squash player, tennis player, they'll talk about cross sport. They'll say, I listened to, you know, I was talking to a curler the other week. I said, well, how do you get? Oh, see, I was listening to Murray and Federer and Nadal, what they had to put into their game. A game that's got no relevance to shoving a stone in ice. And he said, I took this from them and took that from them. But the big thing is that kind of thing, that to live like a sports person 24/7. And that's what you need to be at the very top.
Well, Andy Murray, you remember when he first came through? If it went to 5 sets, you could just turn the TV off. Right? He wasn't fit enough, he would get beaten 5 sets. He had the talent, and he went away, and I remember seeing a picture before and after. He went away, and it must have been 6 or 8 months later he came back. His arms were like that, his legs were like that. 5 sets, bolting people off the court. Just improved his fitness, his diet, everything. He turned into a world-class athlete. So why can football players in Scotland not do that as well?
I must admit though, and I do hope, if there were any positives from last night, I do hope that I'm not suggesting for a minute that Billy Gilmour starts to get thighs like Graham Souness or anything, but he is a shining light. I mean,
Gilmour's got it already. See, like some people say to you,
he's got that work ethic.
He's got the work ethic. He can't improve that. Right, that's what he is. He's got that. And people say he's made it already. You go, oh, is he? He's only that age. You say, yeah, he's a Champions League winner. Right? He didn't play in Champions League final, but he was a bit in the Champions League. And see what he's got in him. Can he be improved? In attitude terms, can he improve? Because he's 100% in it.
Yeah.
I did a piece where I was phoning up coaches, Peter, about, did the making of Billy Gilmour. And everybody, very few of them talked about his technical ability, because that was taken as read. But people like James Grady, Craig Mulholland, Scott Gemmell, talked to them all. Talked to even the boy who was at his the Saltcoats, Ardrossan and Saltcoats team with him. Everybody says it. He turns up, he works, dedication. When he was up, he was texting James Grady, can I come along? Can I please come along and train with you tonight? I'm up in my holidays. He says, James Grady's got Billy Gilmour in with the under-15s. He says, under-50s, look at Grady's, James Grady's watching him doing the dog, he's, swept on him as if it's Thomas Tuchel that's watching him, or Frank Lampard. That's what you've got to do. Every session, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, the one thing that struck me last night, when we were 2-0 down, second half, late on in the game, he was still going back to the centre halves to take it. And that reminded me, I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of when we were in the dark days of we only had one player playing in the Premier League, and that was Darren Fletcher. And Darren Fletcher, I'll never forget it, I think Ruffy and I were in the Amsterdam Arena, and James McFadden had scored the 1 goal at Hampden. We'd won 1-0, and everybody's thinking it was a playoff. Everybody's thinking Scotland will go over there, and this is a chance. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was just a sea of orange. They battered us 6-0. But the one thing that stuck in my head was at 6-0, Darren Fletcher was still going back to the centre half, demanding the ball and trying to build it. And his application is beyond question. I've got nothing but the utmost respect.
It's either in or it's not. I mean, I was the same with Scott Brown at Parkhead. Celtic were 6-0 up, we were down to 10 men, and Scott Brown was playing for Hibs. And Scott Brown was smashing Lennon and running about and getting into people and trying to G people up at 6-0. And I was already off at that point, hooked. But I can remember going, look at that boy here, he's got it. And then look where he went.
It's where it can take you as well.
Yeah.
But they always say, I mean, it's like, he's talking about the Danish team. One of the great gurus of the Danish team is this guy, Rasmus Ankersen, who's the chairman of Michelin. He's the football director of Brentford.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book.
That's Michelin, the club, not the tyres. Just the way you pronounced it there, I thought somebody's going to go, what's tyres got to do with football?
And he talks about, it's that great saying, talent is overrated. He talks about every player that he's worked with. And the first player that he wrote a book about, the Goldmine effect, was Kaya that played centre half yesterday. The Danish one. And Michelin were wanting rid of him as a kid, and they had to beg and stay. And the only way he stayed was all the coaches said, do you know what, he's a trier. We'll keep him. We'll get a chance. Because he's not going to go out. He's not going to do it. He's a trier. And look at him now. Yeah,
incredible. What's our chances for the game against Moldova and beyond? Here's the Scotland manager.
Yeah, we're still in the group. No problem. We got a tough game at home against Moldova at the weekend, and we go for 3 points. We get 3 points there. Then we look forward to the Austrian game away. But first focus is Saturday. We have to get 3 points.
I couldn't hear that clip there, but I think he's basically saying we're still in the group.
We're still in the group, aye. Well, nobody's expelled us.
Brexit.
Nobody's thrown us out like Ruffy at a nightclub at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, we're still, well, we're not in any way competitive in the group.
No.
I mean, you could make a case that we might be competitive for second place. I wouldn't agree with that. I think we're completely in terms of competitors. I mean, the next 2 games, Denmark will get 6 points, so they'll have 18 points. So they're home and hosed. So you're talking about second place. Second place, I think we've had 2 dunts already that have really damaged us. 2 draws that have really damaged us. And
We've still got to play Israel again.
and
What's a certain one each?
see the result that really see the result. I was sitting there last night doing that, doing it on the internet. I was sitting saying we were getting pumped here early. It's talking about 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You're sitting 8 o'clock. It's done.
Absolutely.
So you're going on to live scoring that. I say, well, hopefully Moldova might get a point. Maybe draw with Austria. That was the card. Austria won that comfortably last night. And I think anything less than a victory over there, and we're goosed. And I don't think, and even then, I've got this feeling that Scotland will not do to Moldova and Israel what Austria will do to Moldova and Israel.
Yeah. Now, okay, coming up, more reflection on that Scotland game. You can give us your view on it. If you've just joined us, Gabriel Antoniazzi reflects on last night's misery against Denmark.
Here are 5 things we learnt from Denmark 2, Scotland 0. 1. Robertson at right wing-back did not work. Manager Steve Clarke admitted the system didn't work in the first half with players out of position. The manager will need to start getting his team selection right from the start. 2. The defence must improve. Clarke's teams have previously prided themselves on clean sheets and solid displays, something Scotland must return to if they are to restart their progression. 3. Gilmour's star continues to shine. The main positive in the second half was the 20-year-old's display. Fielded in the deepest line position, he continuously got on the ball when under pressure and moved it forwards. 4. Denmark are one of Europe's top teams. Despite all of Scotland's faults, there is no doubt that the Danes are one of the best teams around and will only improve with their vibrant, youthful team. 5. The next 2 games are must-win. Moldova at home and Austria away face the Scots within the next 5 days, and 6 points must be picked up if they're realistically going to finish second in the group and reach the World Cup playoffs.
What do you think? Can we get 6 points? Can we win 2 games against Moldova and Austria? Give us your view on that. And don't forget, if you download the PLZ Soccer app, it's fairly straightforward. Even you can do it. Download the app. Do you get it on your Nokia 3010? Download the app. And of course, it's got all the latest Scottish, European, world, and of course, English football. And it's also got submission, where if you press submission, you can actually record yourself and give us your thoughts. And if we use your video on the programme, then we'll send something nice out to you, as we have done for a number of people. And there's still more in the post on the way. So we'd love for you to get involved. It's a chance for you to actually come on. We'll react to your video recording. You can actually post a message as well. We'd love to hear that from you too. As far as Gabs there mentioning the 5 things we've learned. Okay, we know Denmark are a good side. We know Gilmour's a good player. We just have to hope that Steve Clarke can somehow, can he twist it? Can he change it? Can he get something that's going to give us a formation that could potentially get 6 points?
We're definitely going to beat Moldova. I'm going to stick my neck out and say we're going to beat them. I think we're going to need to beat them by a few, because it could, as Stu says, I think Austria and Denmark have already beaten them 8-0. Mm-hmm. I think the Austrian, they'll gub them, 5 or 6. So we've got to win that game comfortably. Austria away is a very difficult game. I was quite impressed with them in the Euros. They ran Italy close, who are top class. I was impressed with them. I think that's a very, very difficult game to go over there and beat them. But it'll need to be a backs to the wall performance. It'll need to be a typical Scottish performance, and you need to maybe nick the game 1-0 or 2-1. But
we're not going to do that, are we?
I hope so, but
I get hope so's and probability.
In my heart of hearts,
you're turning into Ruffy there.
I know. In my heart of hearts, I think we'll take 4 points out of 6. I think we'll get a draw in Austria, but I don't think it'll be enough.
Wow, I actually think we'll get 3 points. I think we'll get battered in Austria. I think it's a similar story. And then, from there, the carnage of, how you analyse it, over-analyse it, as we do in Scotland. This is wrong, that's wrong. But I think we've got to have faith, Hugh, in the belief that there are players coming through the grassroots. There are more players getting regular football. I mean, listen, even mediocre players are getting 100 to 150 games in Scottish football now, because before I used to sit, I would sit sometimes, I'd sit at Tynecastle. I can remember sitting at Tynecastle when we were in the doldrums and we were signing a lot of foreign imports who were very, very mediocre. And I watched a guy one day, and his name stuck in my head, Hans Eskilsson. Do you remember him? And I thought to myself, wow, you wouldn't get a game with my five-a-side team. He was murder, and I thought, why would you buy him and deny at that time, I think, a Gary McSwiggan a starting game for Hearts? You know, they were buying players that you thought, this is terrible.
I think here's the reasons to be slightly cheerful, right? The SFA have bought into Clarke, right? They've said to him, here's an extended contract.
Yeah.
So
do you have a problem with that?
I don't know. I think, yeah, you can criticise
Have you got a
him.
problem? Is it because there's no viable alternative, or do you think Clarke is the man? Or do you think there's not really another person?
I think there's always viable alternatives. See what I think is the problem with sometimes with viable alternatives, and it happens whether it's a Celtic job or whether it's the international job or the Hearts job. People always put up the same suspects and say, oh, if you didn't, we can bring Alec McLean. You know, there'll be really, there'll be really top-class coaches out there that would jump, be a young German coach out there that would say, it's probably, number 2 at Mainz or number 3 at Dortmund.
But I think the old cartel's gone now, Hugh.
I think it has to ascend. It's still I'm okay, now they've made the decision, I'm on board with it, because I think Clarke's a decent coach. I think he's learning at this level, if that sounds, it sounds pretty harsh for some, but he's learning some harsh lessons of what he should be doing and what he should be getting across. So I've not got a huge issue with that. My hope is, as I say, it sounds like Private Fraser, first of all, we're doomed. I have no hopes at all. I wrote a piece for a magazine, and its publication was this week, so I had to write it without knowledge of how the Denmark game was going, and I just wrote, Denmark thumped us. Right, and I've written that. And the guys, how do you know that? I said, that's what's going to happen. I'm realistic enough. We are not going to qualify for this World Cup.
Yeah,
that's my strong view. My next view is though, but what about the Euros? I've got slight hopes that there'll be a progression, because it's funny listening to Tam. I think there's a core of decent players in the team, particularly in midfield. But the more I talk to coaches, like Tam and other people that are working in performance schools, they're very strong about players coming through. And they're not guys that are easily swayed either.
No, but Hugh, if they're positive about guys coming through, they better be positive about centre halves.
Aye.
Because we can talk about midfielders till we're blue in the face. We can maybe sneak the odd Che Adams who doesn't want to play for England, but he's got a Scottish granny. Fine, he's in. I've no qualms with anybody with the heritage link, because it's part of the rules. But if we haven't got a defence shortly, we are still going to give up those goals. And we've had that problem for nigh on 15, 20 years now.
Yep.
The centre of defence, I mean, the best example I can give you of a half-decent defence, and even then we slaughtered them, was Gary Caldwell and Stephen McManus and the night in Paris in 2007. Now, in 2007, that whole team worked its socks off, and we were very close to qualifying for a tournament. We didn't make it. But since then, no centre halves.
But we've got a centre half in Bayern Munich at the moment, a kid. I mean, there's a whole way through. There's a whole. But there are shoots there that we can say, and I actually think the other great shoot, which is the World Cup. The next World Cup after Qatar, our five-a-side team probably qualify. There's 48 teams going.
I think we're making it. Do you want to go? We'll get the mystery machine full of petrol for that. Thanks for that, Hugh. Exactly.
2026 or something.
Yeah.
Totally irrelevant to me.
Hold on a minute.
You'll be hanging on by then.
I'll be pushing the daisies up.
No, you won't. I'm just checking Ruffy though. I'll just check his date of birth. Listen, this interview with Andy Robertson almost floored me. Here's his take on the 2-0 defeat last night.
What we have showed is, we have improved since maybe 3-4 years ago. I think that could have potentially been, 4 or 5-0. But we weathered the storm. But unfortunately, you find yourself 2 goals down, and second half you go out, you try and get back in the game, you try and trying to stamp your authority on the game, and we've done that at times, but I felt Denmark were always in control, and that's a disappointing thing.
Yeah, he says we have improved, and there was, 2-0 could have been 5-0. The fact that it was 2-0 is a positive. I love Andy, but come on, they took their foot off the gas.
They did. I think what he's trying to do, he's trying to keep it positive. He's a captain. You can't go in there and say, listen, we were rotten and we get pumped, because it doesn't inspire confidence in the rest of the team. So he's got to go out there, he's got to put a brave face on it to the press. I'm sure deep down Andy Robertson knows we were miles off it last night against Denmark, but I think he said that for the sake of the rest of the boys. So I think the proof in the pudding will be in the next couple of games. I think Moldova, we've got to go out there and beat them 3 or 4-0. Good display, take confidence into the Austria game, and then go to Austria and try and win the game. If you can take 6 points, all of a sudden, we sniff again, everybody's up. Everybody's thinking, by the way, but we are improving. Yeah. But it could go the other way, and you could struggle against Moldova and get pumped off of Austria, and everybody's rip up and start again. I'm watching him and I'm thinking, Saltcoats is not a bad holiday this year, because he could sell it to you, couldn't he? He sounded like somebody from the SFA there. Just, 3 points, yep, 3 or 4-0, yep, brilliant, that's fantastic, Tom. But no, here's the table. It looked good before we started against Denmark. We're in 4th position now. We've got 5 points. Austria and Israel up ahead of us. Faroe Islands and Moldova. Listen, we could probably dedicate an entire programme to it. Denmark were good. We didn't play well on the night. Maybe that was because Denmark didn't let us play well on the night. There are a few mitigating circumstances, but we've got to live to fight another day. Let's hope we can get something over the next 2 games, but I have my doubts. I think our World Cup bid is over. I think it's over as well. It's too warm over there anyway.
Okay, that's fine. You can too warm over there in Qatar. I know that's the thing everybody's thinking about. Qatar roasting. Anyway, we've looked at the table. You can give us your view on that. I'm sure the fallout will continue all the way through till we get the build-up coming tomorrow, and of course on the Saturday against Moldova. Fingers crossed. Listen, just to show you that the programme goes far and wide, and so many people send things into, as I mentioned there about downloading the PLZ Soccer app, because apart from the show, which you'll get live on there, you can also get all the latest breaking news stories too. It's well worth it, and the shop with lots of great gear in their 20 Legends t-shirts and our Maestro tops, which the boys all love wearing. But you can actually hit the submission and record yourself, and every now and then send us something that you've spotted. And they haven't sent their name on this, which is crucial in the submissions. You've got a bit where you can put your name in it. This group of people didn't do it, but they did actually have something that's a wee message for Ruffy. They were in Edmonton in Canada when they spotted this.
Thistle man. Just came out of the Scotland game and I've seen a car. We're in Edmonton, Alberta. And it's a Partick Thistle sticker. Really, hell is this one's for Ruffy.
I mean, honestly, a Partick Thistle fan in Edmonton with the Partick Thistle on the back of the car, that's magnificent, isn't it, Hugh? They're all over the place, Jags fans.
Yeah, in Canada especially, I think Ruffy told a story about going to an event over there one year and suspected he was going to walk in maybe 25. It was 500 punters in the hall. There's more fans in Edmonton than there is in Maryhill. The Scottish football thing and the conferences and the conventions over there, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
It is incredible. And to be fair, the amount of mates of mine who, first thing in the morning and, will actually say, hey, it's 6 o'clock, I'm getting up. And they'll head down to watch Rangers or Celtic in a pub. Yeah. They all get together, and it's almost like just going back in time to see their favourite team playing. I
was the same, because I lived and I played in America for a few years. And
did you have the same satellite dish that you have in East Kilbride?
No, I think I paid for my internet over there. I was on a few more quid. But no, I can remember getting up, and again, it was, I think when I was in New York it was 5 hours behind, and when I was in Colorado I think it was 7 hours behind. And there was a wee English pub down in Rochester, down in the main street, and all your Man United fans, your Liverpool fans used to always go down in the 12 o'clock game. So the pub would open at 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And they'd all be sitting with a pint at 7 in the
Well,
morning.
I don't know, do you drink for the first thing in the morning?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
If it's a big game, I'd go and watch it, but at 7 o'clock I'd just sit and have a coffee, but they were drinking the pints and that.
I know, but
Or
you know the funny
expats.
thing is, when Rangers, there was a period where as a 4 or 5 of us journos would get on the plane and you're ready to go to these places, and Hugh, you know this very well, we'd be there in the bar and they're all bevying at 5 and 6 in the morning. I'm thinking, that's outrageous.
As you know, I can't drink at all.
No, I know
But
you can't.
I go to Germany with 3 boys, my son and 2 of his mates, and it's for football matches, and it's always like 6 o'clock in the morning flights, always that, because either that flight to get you to London or the earliest flight that gets you to Frankfurt or something like that, and then fly out. And it's always earlier. This year, the last time we were flying to Hamburg, and the 4 of us walked in, and I get my coffee, and the 3 guys, Ali walks up to the bar, Edinburgh Airport, and he says to the guy, you serving alcohol? And the guy says, yeah. He says, 3 pints of Stella. And the guy goes, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And Ali says, I know, but that's what we do. We're on holiday. The holiday starts at the bar at the airport.
That's right.
It's official.
5 o'clock somewhere is the old phrase, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I stand corrected then. Anyway, are you one of those fans that does that? We're going to digress away from Partick Thistle fans in Canada and Scotland, because obviously I'm just feeling miserable about it. There's lots of other little news items I want to get your thoughts on. Give us your thoughts, anything that's bugging you, anything you want to talk about. But first and foremost, well done to the Hibbies and Hearts, because they both got together. They both had a wee chat with each other, and they said, look, we got it wrong. You can have the whole Roseburn stand for the Edinburgh Derby, and the return one at the new year, you can have the whole South stand. There you have it. Communication with each other, cooperation, and of course you lot started it, the Hibbies banning the Hearts fans, and then Rangers jumped in and banned the Celtic fans, but it's a proper derby again.
Yeah, it is. Listen, I'm glad that's the case now. I think that it missed it in the last Old Firm game. It's still the same. You want the colour and the atmosphere and the noise of a big away support. I was lucky enough to play in many in my derbies myself, and going to Tynecastle, running out that tunnel, looking to your right, and you see that full stand of Hibs supporters, it just gives you a wee bit. It gets the blood pumping kind of thing. So I'm glad that they're back for both, because if Hearts would have banned the Hibs supporters, there's no doubt in my mind there's retaliation. You're not getting to be sort of, and then everybody suffers. So I'm glad they've both seen sense, and maybe Celtic Rangers can do the same thing, get on the table and sort themselves out as well. Yeah,
great line there, Tam. Don't hold your breath, just out of curiosity on that.
Yeah.
Honestly, Hugh, it doesn't take a lot just to pick up the phone, meet, have a coffee and say to each other, this is the way ahead. Full marks to Hearts and Hibs.
But there must be a motivation to do it, to pick up the phone. And the motivation is not there. It's as simple as that. I mean, Rangers don't want. They can call
Rangers'
it.
record since they've banned the Celtic supporters is fantastic.
They don't want
Ibrox. They don't want them in.
They don't want. They don't want. There's no motivation.
I thought it was all down to being a better team.
Well, of course, but I mean, but the other thing about it is they're playing to their paying customer. Their paying customer. There's no kind of great outbreak of the Rangers fans with enthusiasm for having Celtic fans back at the stadium. So I think I can't see any way out of it.
Yeah.
I don't see the motivation for change. I don't see. So it won't change if there's no motivation to change it.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think there is no motivation at the moment, but hopefully common sense will prevail at some point in the future when there are people who can take a long-term view on it. I must admit, I'm like you, Tam. I love seeing the teams with the both sets of fans. Even as a boy going to an Old Firm match, there was nothing to beat that feeling of either elation or being as flat as a pancake when you heard the opposition fans, and the whole thing, usually when the ball hit the net, there was about, it was probably 100th of a second, but it was still enough of a delay till you wondered, did that ball go in? And then all you heard was,
pandemonium.
And it just was unbelievable.
The other thing is Scottish Cup finals, you know, which were occasionally played, they were always played in May, but occasionally played in the sun. You know, if the Rangers end obviously was underneath, you know, at Edinburgh, so it was very, very dusty. So if Rangers scored, there'd be that little second, and then, and then suddenly there'd be a dust cloud would roll, just right over Hampden.
Yeah.
You know, because there's, what would it be in those days? There'd be like 50,000 people.
In that corner.
That
absolutely.
30, 40,000, and then half that north enclosure. I mean, you're talking about 120, 130,000 fans at these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible. I'd love to see it back, but that's where we are. But full march to Hearts and Hibs. Proper derby. Anyway, the other part I was going to talk about here, again, it kind of sadly tarnishes our game, and we have to address it, but Rangers, full marks to them on this one. They've handed indefinite bans to 3 fans charged over a racially aggravated offence. Police Scotland have arrested and charged the fans aged 19, 21 and 23. And I'm not saying for a minute that the whole poisonous problem is geared with the young, but it certainly is passed down. And I think somewhere along the line there needs to be, and I hope these 3 characters, whoever they are taken on a course, an education course on you know, basically sectarianism, racism, anything that they feel is, in their mind, okay to abuse people because of their race, creed, colour, religion. So Rangers have confirmed they've written to the 3 fans, banned them from Rangers fans indefinitely, and they're continuing this approach. Rangers saying that they will not bring the good name of Rangers into disrepute. The statement coming out from Police Scotland on this is as follows: we've made the first of what I expect to be numerous arrests following the disgraceful racial conduct shown by a minority of Rangers fans who were making their way to Ibrox Stadium on Sunday. 3 men, 24, 21 and 19, as I've said, were arrested, charged last night in connection with racially aggravated offences towards a member of public and for the singing of racist material. This racist conduct will not be tolerated, and our investigations are continuing. We will continue to work with Rangers to identify and take appropriate action against those responsible. So, it's out there in the open. There are you know, police out there, maybe not lifting the people on the day, but catching them at a later date.
Well, the story, the statement from the police earlier in the week was that they'd taken details after the match.
Yeah.
But that march, if you're looking at it, or you know, on video, to me, was deeply unpleasant.
Yes.
And sinister. What you had was people walking through the centre of Glasgow singing racist songs accompanied by the police. And it was deeply, deeply sinister. And the police had to do something very, very quickly about this to get the public back on board. Because if you were watching those pictures and seeing that, and it's okay for the police to say, yeah, there was, you know, operationally we had to do this, and operationally we had to do this. But this was the 3rd big occasion in recent months where police have guided racist singing through the centre of Glasgow. So something had to be done. I'm glad that they're talking about more arrests. I'm glad that the police have reacted now in the way they have, and I look forward to seeing these guys in the dock.
Yeah. Is there a I'm trying to strike a note of balance here. Is there an argument to say, well, there's not enough police there to take immediate action that would inflame a situation? Because that is, I'm not saying an excuse, but that is a reply that's come out at times in situations like this.
But this is the 3rd time it's happened, Peter. You know, it's the 3rd time in recent months where racial singing by a mob has taken place in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And people of Irish descent, or just generally people, decent people, have been forced to listen to it, and it's gone on, and it's not by, I mean, I see there, they say by a minority of Rangers fans. Of course it's a minority of Rangers fans, but it wasn't a minority of that crowd. You just had to listen to that singing. Everybody, I couldn't be precise in this, but I would say the vast majority of that crowd walking through that tunnel were singing it, and that was loud.
Yeah.
That wasn't like 3 arrests.
So there's 3 and a fair few to come.
I very much think so. If you listen to it,
Yeah.
and I can see. Listen, I've got no axe to grind with police. I know it's a really tough job, but the fact of the matter is, this is the third time this has happened in Glasgow. This has to be nipped in the bud. This has to be nipped when these guys are congregating, wherever they're congregating, Jamaica Street or something like that. There's got to be intelligence to say, these guys are here, get them kettled, get them sorted, get them dispersed. Don't escort them through the centre of Glasgow singing racist songs.
Yeah. And listen, you know, whether it's football or anything else, I wonder if there's not as strong an attitude. If there was another event, would there be a different attitude towards it? That's the big question that we're all debating. There's no definitive answer on it, but we still see it, and I think you're right to point that out. Here's another problem which I think we've got looming on the horizon, Tam, which is basically vaccine passports. On the word from, it's amazing this, isn't it? I'm not talking to you, Tam, I'm about a midfielder who takes the ball and maybe turns them. But honestly, do you know, is it only in Scotland where we are bogged down with madness? Because now vaccine passports, the First Minister is, you know, just thrown up there that this is a real possibility. Now, the Joint Response Group basically have released a statement. This is what they had to say on the vaccine passports. We've raised concerns on the considerable unintended consequences of implementing a certificate process without sufficient time or appropriate IT infrastructure in place. We stress the need to ensure a practical and workable solution for clubs and in particular season ticket holders who bought their tickets on the understanding they would be allowed back into the stadium when restrictions were lifted. We asked ministers to carefully consider the unintended consequences of certification, especially in such a short time frame, and request a meeting with the Scottish Government to discuss the matter and its implication for clubs. And the implication for clubs, not only organisational, but financial.
Yeah, I don't know how you can force this through so quickly. It's
stunning.
I mean, surely this is going to take months to sort out. You know, everybody's got to get some sort of a pass to maybe scan into a game or something. You know, they're talking about doing it in the next few weeks. I don't understand it. So, listen, it's completely out my depth in terms of the vaccines and all that and all the other stuff. But I think that statement, it's sensible. You've got to give it time to get everybody, you know,
Neil
a pass or something to come in.
Neil Doncaster just about had
A fit.
Aye.
Yeah.
You see, what? See, the interesting...
I'm glad I intervened there. He's a fit.
The interesting thing about it as well is, like, if you're a season ticket holder and you don't want the vaccine for whatever reason, I would be against that, you know, in a personal level. But if you say, I'm not taking this vaccine because it's not legally enforceable, and you go up to Celtic Park, Starts Park, Easter Road, and say, right, I'm coming in, my season ticket. Where's under the conditions of entry or conditions of buying that, where it says, no, you've got to be vaccinated?
Well, the one thing I have noticed, a lot of people have said is difficulty is that there are situations where fans go up with their season ticket and they just swipe themselves in.
Aye.
You're going to need another ticket or another scanner.
Are you going to say to season ticket holders outside, you're fine with your 400, 500 quid that you bought your season ticket, but want a vaccine top of it? And you say, well, that wasn't the deal when you sold me this 2 months ago.
I want my money back.
I want my money back.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for bogging everybody down, but they are pertinent. I think it's newsworthy.
It's newsworthy for our viewers because, you know, a vast majority of them will be people that go to a football match.
And they're affected by it, which is why we do it. Okay, a couple other things that I wanted to get your thoughts on. So finally, somebody did say, there might have been a late bid from Hibs for Leigh Griffiths. Leigh Griffiths joins Dundee. He's on loan. He's talking about a switch that could help reignite his Celtic career. I say to you right now, no chance.
No, I don't think he'll kick another ball for Celtic, but I think he'll be a great signing for Dundee. I really genuinely hope. Listen, I don't know him as a person, but in terms of his talent, purely his talent, I want to see him going to Dundee and scoring goals and getting himself back, getting his head right, getting himself back scoring goals, getting fit. He's took a lot of flack, you know, and he's not helped himself. I'm no condoning some of the stuff he's done. He's took a lot of flack. Now he's just got to concentrate. You know, I think he's 31 years old. Just go out, train hard every day, be dedicated, score goals on the pitch, recover well, give yourself the last 2 or 3 years of your career, give yourself the best possible opportunity, because speaking from experience, I never You know, when I've turned 30, 31, I was done. But he's still got time, you know, to have a really, really good end to his career, rather than just somebody that, he was good, but then he faded away to nothing and he ended up playing in League Two or the juniors. Yep. He's too good for that, and I hope he doesn't waste it.
Yeah, we stuck by you, Tam. Yeah, that's why you're here, son. We were not. We looked and we thought, there's Tam. He's on his 19th club, but we're taking him. We love him. He's here. But I think the other thing about it, apart from passing on what a great experience you've had, there are lessons that Tam does pass on to people on the pitfalls. Now, I think he's had 9 lives at Celtic, and I think the return for the last 3 years, the goals not been great. The last 3 years, Hugh, but it's been 24 grand a week. It's 3.7 million. The boy will never want again in his life, unless, of course, he somehow manages to blow it. But he's got the last chance saloon at Dundee to maybe get himself another couple of deals as he goes down to certain clubs. He's not coming back to Celtic because I think they've absolutely had their fill of him.
Absolutely. I want to know who gave him the deal at Celtic, the 1 year deal. Because I want to go to them and get them to sponsor me for a 1 year deal here, you know, and then I can retire. I mean, why that deal went over the line, I do not know to this day. I'd love to know that.
Do you think it was a wee bit of panic stations that they never had the high goals and never had people in the door? And
I think it was completely panicked because I think they were expecting Edward to go out and didn't know if anybody was coming in. But I just think it was, you know, a terrible decision. The thing about, I mean, Tam summed it up beautifully, but the thing about, and we were talking about it earlier, and it goes back to the Andy Murray thing. If you look, if Leigh Griffiths was travelling through in a car from Edinburgh with Scott Brown, right? It'd be a nice thing to go into Wikipedia and find out, what did Scott Brown win after the age of 30? How much money did he earn after the age of 30? And he's still a respected figure. He's still got a career. And would you say that Scott Brown was more talented than Leigh Griffiths?
No.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about, but listen, it goes back to the start of the programme.
Exactly.
Desire, you know, that ability to actually work at your trade. Talent is not enough.
And it's not as if people have not warned him. Previous Celtic managers have fired it across his bow a few times, particularly Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, and by the way, these are the things that these are the misdemeanours that we do know about, you know, and clubs do a great job of, you know, hiding a lot of some of the stuff that goes on in the background, but nevertheless he's got a chance to, and this is the point where I think James McPake, who's clearly putting his faith in him to try and get him the goals, if Leigh Griffiths plays 30 games before the end of the season for Dundee are no way going down.
I don't think Dundee are going down anyway. I've really been impressed with Dundee.
Yeah, only at one point I've been impressed with them, the way they played football. They can't score goals.
Exactly, and I think the Motherwell game was a big wake-up call
against Hibs.
Honestly, I mean, we're talking about big teams.
But the Motherwell game was a big one. They outplayed Motherwell. Everybody's possession. It did all that stat stuff, but Motherwell won 1-0. And that James is no daft. James has said to himself, "I need somebody, you know, at 9 to convert these chances." The other thing about James, of course, is, you know, there's not going to be any easy ride up there for him because, you know, James has been strong with Charlie. You know, he told Charlie to play Charlie Adam, that is, to play certain games, and he wasn't playing other games, etc., etc. So it's not a give me for Leigh up there. I'm like Tam. I wish everybody the best. I really do. I mean, I wish every football player the best. And I wish, like, we've all done things in our life. We all need a bit of redemption and a bit of salvation. And I always say, right, go up there, have a new chance. And I wish you well. I hope you score a bundle of goals. Hope it's a great move for Dundee, their fans, James McPake and you.
Absolutely. Listen, I agree with you on that, but I think Celtic have really pushed the boat out and given them quite a lot of chances, and it just hasn't worked out now. Thanks for all the messages that come up on our feed. We do try and ban people who just go into the gutter, and believe me, as I watch them, I ban as many as I possibly can to try and keep us with a really good percentage of decent people who love their football and love their club, and thank you to everyone who contributes. Posting messages as well, video messages on the app. We love to hear from people who love their football club. I quite like, by the way, with that in mind, I like like the fact that there are people who like a good noise up and banter, and every now and then we get battered, which is fine. I can take it. I like Shane Johnson's post. He says Celtic are paying back for the Dundee vote. and well, I don't know any other points that Shane makes, but Scottish football fans have got a long memory, haven't they?
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it.
Anyway, apart from anything else, I flinched there when you said about, they gave Leigh Griffiths a contract because they didn't know if there's other strikers coming in. Give me a break here. It's Celtic. They've taken in 51.7 million in player sales since January. 51.7 million, Hugh. They've spent 18.9 million of that on incoming players. They've signed 12 players in the summer, but they've made... Look at that. I mean, there's Frimpong, 11.5. El Hamid, 800,000, 1.4 Vuken Bayo, 4 million Patrick Lamala, Shved, 1 million, Jack Henry, 1.5 million plus a sell-on, 1 million for Leo Hjelde, 13.5 million for Chris Ayer, Odson Edouard, 15.5 million, Ryan Christie, 1.5 million. That is an incredible amount. Plus, let's not forget season ticket sales, and let's not forget shirt sales, and let's not forget £19 not even on the season book that they've been charging the fans for the European games.
And let's not forget, most names in that list, not all of them, will be on wages higher, much higher than the replacements. So the wage bill will be going down substantially. What you have here, and it's been underreported, is you're a club that's downsizing. It's completely downsizing. It's looked at the football landscape, not just in COVID, but in Champions League qualification, and said it's almost like when Gordon Strachan came in. Remember, Gordon came in and had to
half the budget, half it.
Completely.
Yeah.
They couldn't sustain it, and that's got the ring of fear. What I laugh about is like, I do laugh about it in that if you listen to Celtic, our recruitment has been crap. This is a club that can't recruit players. The recruitment is rubbish. And you go, this year you've sold £50 million worth of players.
Yeah.
The recruitment must be pretty okay.
Yeah, but Hugh, with all due respect, I haven't included the ones that they've shifted silently out the door.
Aye, but still,
Peter, but 51 million's okay. I take your point.
But still, I mean, but see it in Cham.
Yeah.
And Cham is, that's football, isn't it? Because in Cham is a French under-21 international.
Listen, we're running
How did that happen?
I know, we're running out of time. I want to get a couple of quick points in. Tam, what about your mob? They try and sing.
Barrel toy.
Yeah, that was the early days. I was just about to say. Okay, what about your mob? You've tried to sign Jamie McGrath at the 11th hour, and suddenly you've tried to get rid of Dre Wright and Scott Allen, and they have to come back to the club because the deal falls through at the 11th hour. That's not good.
No, it's not good. It's not a good situation for both players to be in.
Didn't get the paperwork in time. That's shoddy.
Listen, there'll be various accounts of it, but listen, I think it was left too late anyway to get it all done. That's a very complex deal.
Yeah.
To try and, I think, terminate a contract, loan somebody, then sign somebody that was in Portugal, Jamie McGrath. So I think it was a very complicated deal. It was never going to happen in the last hour of a transfer window. My only gripe, and probably Hibs supporters' gripes, was why was it not done earlier?
Yeah.
Because I watched Jamie McGrath last night and he was outstanding for Ireland, so Hibs might have missed a boat on him.
Yep, missed a trick there. St Johnstone fans are really unhappy. Ali McCann sold for just over $1 million. Here's the St Johnstone chairman, his statement on it, basically saying we had no intention to sell Ali in the window. I met with the manager at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. At the moment, 2 offers came in for Ali McCann, which were both rejected. An increased offer came in from Preston at 5 o'clock, which was also turned down. Shortly after this, it was made abundantly clear that Ali wanted to move on. We reopened dialogue with Preston and renegotiated to get the overall transfer fee we wanted. With the add-ons, it will surpass 1.75 million, which we put on him. That money will be reinvested back into the football department. Whether that appeases them or not, only time will tell. Hearts apparently looking at Barry Mackay. Scored I'll never forget his goal at Hampden in the semi-finals, an absolute raker into the roof of the net. Just wonder if he's got to that point now where he's still got something to offer in the Premier League.
Well, it seems to be Nielsen seems to be, you know, every manager's got their wee predilections. He seems to buy an awful lot of wingers, you know. And I can see why the Bees team plays it. He needs wingers. Barney Mackay had talent, but we talked about that before. He hasn't, shall we say, realised that talent the way he might have wanted. Is what it might be worth a chance of.
Yep, absolutely. A couple of things to finish, Tam. I've got to mention them. I've now changed my all-time top 5 world superstars, greatest players of all time. I keep changing the formation because I just cannot believe it. Look at Ronaldo's stats. They are outrageous. 111 international goals, 59 with the right, 25 with the left, 27 headers, 7 goals in the World Cup, 14 in the Euros, 64 in the qualifiers. His first goal against Greece in 2004 and his latest goal against Ireland in 2021 was the winner. That was after he'd scored the equaliser in the game and missed a penalty. He's unbelievable. Harry Maguire reckons there's nobody better.
Yeah, of course, it's amazing. Obviously, I'm away with England at the moment, so my focus is on the game tomorrow. But for him to sign back for the club, and for me, the greatest player to play the game. So, no, it's amazing to have him at the club, and I'm sure he's going to have a huge impact on and off the field. And many players can look and learn and improve, and then obviously he's going to improve our team as well with his goal scoring record. So, no, it's amazing to have him at the club, and I'm looking forward to meeting him in a few days.
The greatest player to ever play the game. I've got it now. Pele, Maradona, Ronaldo, Messi, Cruyff.
I wouldn't be far off. I'd put Maradona first. And I always say, why Maradona first? Napoli's only won 2 titles in their history, both times when Maradona was playing for them. And they dragged a 1986 team to the World Cup. Scotland in 86. If you look at the Scotland squad in 86 and the Argentina squad in 86, Maradona playing for Scotland, we might just have won it. There you go. Look at the squads.
Yeah, there's a line and a half. Why didn't you have a Scottish granny? And I'm going to show you this goal because it would be remiss of me not to mention Glasgow City, Champions League, and the women against Servette. They got a great 1-1 draw. And Claire Shinnie, have a look at this.
Walsh. Looking to try and pick out Claire Shine here. Oh, what a goal from Claire Shine! What a goal from Claire Shine! In the 66th minute, that is out of the top drawer. And it silences the crowd in Geneva. Our third goal in Europe. And how about that for our 60th Glasgow City goal, and it has been coming since they fell behind. Walsh's ball, we've seen it before from Claire Ross, a long ball forward, and Shine had to take that first time expertly and did so superbly, and it's 1-1.
I thought I'd give you 32 different angles on that one there. Clear Shine. That was outrageous. What about technique?
A lovely wee touch. I mean, lovely touch. Tam, you can do that, Tam. You had a nice wee touch in the box as well.
That was a great goal.
That was a great
one
goal,
myself.
wasn't it?
No, listen, didn't even look where the goalkeeper was. Knew exactly where the goal was. So no, really.
The goals don't move.
They don't move.
That's what they say.
Well, not only that, but Claire Shine will remember that forever and a day. That's going to be. If she never scores another goal, you should be hard pressed if she does score a barrel load to top that one. It was absolutely magnificent. Well done, Glasgow City. Thanks to Glasgow City for giving us that footage to show that goal. Listen, we could have talked forever and a day. Give us your top 5 now. I've changed to my top 5. Hugh's still got Maradona out in front. Tam, just before we go, what's your top 5?
Oh, I don't know my top 5.
What? Why not?
Messi's number 1.
Okay, Messi's number 1.
Messi's the best player I've ever seen. I obviously born in a different era from Maradona, but Messi's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, good. Give us your top 5. Do you agree with us, disagree with us? Has it changed because of Ronaldo's amazing stats, or are you still a Messi like Tam, a Maradona, or a Pele? Depends on your age. Is it a generational thing? Listen, thank you very much to Hugh and Tam, and to you for sticking with us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join the ever-growing football family here on PLZ Soccer. The football show will be back tomorrow. Tam will be with us again. Charlie Adam will be here, hopefully, and getting that injury sorted out, and I'll be in the chair as well, talking more football, looking ahead to Scotland against Moldova. From all of us, thanks for watching.